Shalom, shalom, shalom. I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace, blessing, and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad, teaching his word in truth and sincerity. I'm back with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. And this is going to be on the third temple and why the third temple is not a physical temple. Right, you got Christians right now and Amalekites talking about a third temple being rebuilt. And we understand through the scriptures that we are the temple of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, the body of believers, the elect. That is the temple that's being erected right now, right? The house of David. But these Christians, because they have a lack of understanding in the scriptures and these Amalekites, they think there's a physical temple that needs to be built so that the Lord can come back. And we're going to go to a few scriptures and get the edification. And this is not going to be a long lesson, right? We're going to get straight to the point. So this is First Corinthians 3. And let's start at 16. It says, Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? So it says, know ye not that you are the temple of God, right? So you have to know that you're the temple of the Most High. And it says, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth within you, right? So the Spirit of God dwells within the Israelites. And in these last days, the Spirit of God is going to dwell within his elect, right? The elect of the house of Israel. It's not going to dwell in all mankind, right? And it says, let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to slack. I went down to 18. This is 17. If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. Right? So we are the temple of the Most High. And we're supposed to be separated from these different, ideologies, these different religions, idols. Right? We're supposed to be separated from those things. And what does it say? If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. So if you defile your temple in any type of way, and there's many ways you can defile your temple, right? You can defile your temple with idols. You can defile your temple with abominable foods or doing abominable actions, right? You can defile your temple in many different ways. So if you destroy your temple, or if you, what does it say? If you defile your temple, then you're going to be destroyed. And defilement in your temple can also be smoking, right? Doing things that are unlawful in the scriptures, right? Or they can, harm you in the end, right? You're not going to personally harm yourself, right? So a person who's smoking weed, or you're doing drugs, man, you're defiling your temple because the Most High has to dwell in that temple, right? So it says, if any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy, for the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. Right, so we are the temple in these last days, the believers, right? The body, the ecclesia, which are Israelites, right? Because these damn Christians will tell you that the church is just all believers, anybody who believes from any nation, right? No, the true church is Israelites. It's comprised of Israelites, so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, who have turned back from wickedness into righteousness. It's not consisted of all manner of different heathen people. That's not what the Bible is talking about. That's not what the Bible is saying. All right, so let's go into this. I believe it's let's see. Let's go to 1 Peter 1 and 1 Peter 2, and I'm going to start at 3. It says, to whom coming as unto a living stone, disallowed indeed of men, but chosen of God and precious. It's talking about Yahushai. He is that stone that the builders refused, the cornerstone. Ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Yahushua Mashiach. Let me read that one more time. He also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house and a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Yahushua Mashiach. So we are lively stones, right? It's building up a spiritual house. It says, and holy priesthood, right? So aren't the Israelites known as the as a priest, right? a kingdom of priests. So it says, ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house. Right, and that word lively, let's go into that word lively real quick. First Peter 2 and it was like 5. We're going to go to that word lively. Lively, it says,
Strong's G 2198. Zao. Zao.
It says to live, breathe, to be among the living, not lifeless, not dead, to enjoy real life, to have true life and worthy of his name, active, blessed, endless in the kingdom of God, to live, i.e., past life in the manner of the living and acting, morals and character, living water, having vital power in itself and exerting the same upon the soul, metaphor to be in full vigor, to be fresh, among efficient, as active, powerful, it's like I can't say that. But the point is to live, to breathe. Right? We understand the breath is the wisdom of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. Right? So those lively stones are those men who have the breath in them. They have the wisdom of the Lord in them. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon 7:24. Wisdom of Solomon 7:24. For wisdom is more moving than any motion. She passeth and goeth through all things by reason of her pureness. For she is the breath of the power of God and a pure influence flowing from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore can no defiled thing fall into her. So it says, for she is the breath of the power of God. Or so that's wisdom. Those are those lively stones in, what is that, 1 Peter 2 and 5. I'm going to go back to it. Right, so that is the temple. If you didn't realize it, that is the temple that's being built up. It says, ye also as lively stones. So Yahweh Shai was the living stone, the cornerstone, which is the most important part of a building, right? And we are symbolic of lively stones that help to complete the building. Or you can say the church, the ecclesia, which are Israelites who have been adopted as those children, right? They've been adopted as those children because they were already children of the Most High. They fell away. Now the Lord is gathering them back, right, through the gospel of reconciliation, right? So those members are making up that third temple. I'll read that one more time. It says, ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house and a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices and acceptable to God by Yahweh Shai Mashiach. Right, and we understand that another name for that temple or that building that's being built is the house of David, right? And when you look at the house of David, it's pretty much talking about the elect of the house of Israel, right? Let's go to Amos. It's Amos, I believe it's 9. I'm gonna start at 8. This is Amos 9 and 8. Behold, the eyes of the Lord God are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from the face of the earth, saying that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, said the Lord. For lo, I will command, I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as a corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. All sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say that evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. In that day will I raise up the tabernacles of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. Right, so they might see this and they might think that it's talking about an actual building or a temple. It says, in that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up the ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. Right, so this is talking about the people, the Israelites, because we understand that Israelites, they're a people before a place. right? That's why it says you are the temple, the Lord Most High dwells within you, right? So the Israelites are a people before it's a place. That's why it talks about how the kingdom of heaven is not going to come by observation, but pretty much we are the kingdom of heaven, because within the elect, I want to say we, but that church, that elect, that is the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven has to be realized through the elect, so that within the elect, when the elect is sealed, that's when the actual kingdom of heaven is going to be brought together or brought to life through the destruction of this kingdom, through Yahweh Shai, right? So the elect has to be sealed first. Then the kingdom of heaven is going to be established, because now the kingdom of heaven is pretty much the governing body of the earth. Where the Israelites will have rulership and dominion over everybody, and the world will be ran in righteousness through Yahweh Shai and his people, right? And he says, I will close the breaches thereof, right? So the breaches are being closed up right now, right? The elect are being purified. They're being tried, right? They're going through their tests and trials, so they're made perfect. So there's no more breaches, right? And also, he's gathering up a specific number of Israelites, right? We understand 144,000, which are the teachers. He's sealing them. Right, so that's another way the breaches are being closed up. The Lord's going to cover the sins of Israel, so there won't be no gall found in their mouths. Right, so this temple is going to stand. It's going to stand forever. But this is the governing body. This is people rather than just a physical temple. Now, will it be a temple that's built in the kingdom of heaven? Well, scriptures talk about buildings being built, right? Schematics to buildings. So yeah, there could be, there possibly will be a temple in the kingdom of heaven. But what we need to understand is that there's not going to be any temple built in these last days before, or let me say it like this: the true temple that's being built is the people, the elect of the house of Israel. Who knows? These Amalekites, they might build a temple in the land. They might actually build one. We don't know. And they're looking for red heifers and everything. So you never know. They might just build the temple. You know what I'm saying? But we understand that that's not the true temple. See, that's the carnal temple. That's a carnal temple, right? The true temple, which is something you can't see, right? Because the things you can see are temporal, but the things you can't see are eternal. Right? You can't really see an actual temple being built, because the temple is within every one of the elect. Right? Let's go to Ephesians. Ephesians 2 and that's 3. Let's see, 2. And I'm gonna start at 19. Ephesians 2 and 19. Now, therefore, ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints of the household of God. Right? It's talking about the Gentile Israelites. Right? Those who were among the people of Ephesus and Corinth, right? And these different nations and heathens, but through the preaching of the gospel, because they're Israelites, they were able to come out of the way of thinking and ideology and the customs of those different nations and those different cultures, right? And come and be a citizen, of Israel, right? Pretty much regaining their heritage, right? They were strangers from the commonwealth of Israel, but through the blood, they are nigh unto the Lord. It says, where was I at? It says, now, therefore, you are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints of the household of God, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Yahweh Shai Mashiach himself being the chief cornerstone. So we're built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets. It says, in Yahweh Shai, he was the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together groweth into the holy temple in the Lord. Right? So when you go into that word fitly framed together, I believe it goes into Sunamata Gale, right? And actually, I'm just going to get it just for edification purposes. Yeah, I think that's right there. Ephesians. All right, so you want to go to Sunamata Gale, fitly framed together. That's what I want to go to.
Strong's G 4883. Sunar Malageo. Sunar Malageo.
Right, it says to join closely together, to frame together parts of a building, the members of a body. So these Israelites are joined together as a symbolic house, right? Fitly framed together, parts of a building, the members of a body. It's the church, right? There's a number of believers of Yahushua Mashiach that are from the house of Israel that make up this spiritual third temple, right? And this is what we're seeing right now. This is part of the breath. In Ezekiel 37, we talked about how the lively stone, it went into breath. And Ezekiel 37 talks about that breath being received by the dry bones, which pretty much shows you that, hey, this is prophecy. What's going on? This is prophecy. And this is pretty much the fulfilling of the third temple being built, with the Israelites coming back into their heritage and their knowledge and getting the breath in them. Let me just finish this off. And it says, and are built upon the foundations of the apostles and the prophets, Yahushua Mashiach himself being a chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together groweth into the holy temple in the Lord, and whom you also are builded together for the habitation of God through the Spirit, right? So pretty much showing you how, right, the men of the Lord, right, the true men of Yahweh Shemashai, they pretty much make up that temple, the elect of the house of Israel. And it says until a holy temple to the Lord, right? So this is what is being erected. And we can see that process is almost done, right? We can't know it through just merely looking, but through what's going on the earth. The scriptures say that the four angels are holding back the four winds until the elect of the servants be sealed in their foreheads, right? So once all hell really starts to jump, that's how we know that that's the elect is sealed. Once the famine of the word comes in, that pretty much is going to bring in the famine of the word, right? And the famine of the word means that the Lord no longer has to hold back his judgment. Because when you look at these different events of old, the Lord always sent his prophets to warn the people before he destroyed and desolated things. So he's going to do the same thing, right? The Lord don't change. He always sends the prophets. He always sends a warning before the coming destruction. So the fact that there's men warning on highways and byways, warning our people what's to come, it kind of shows you that it's an urgent message. And those people got to take heed, because we don't have all day long and forever to preach the word. The word being preached is one. It's one part of fulfillment of the prophecies. The other part of the prophecy has to be full out Jacob's trouble, the MOT being implemented, and also Jacob's trouble to be fulfilled before we fully can get up out of here. But we know that in the time we're in, things are speeding up, as the Lord said, and we can be thrusted off in the next part of prophecy at any moment, right? So I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh Bashim Shai, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and till next time, Lord willingly, Shalom.